I'm Blake Giles.
I'm Jim Hardin.
This is Sidelines
And Headlines.
And it's a special holiday edition here of our podcast. We're glad you're spending some time during this holiday season just to talk about high school football. The championships have been crowned in the state of Georgia. And then, of course, it's getting down to the bare knuckles with the college football playoffs. Only 8 teams remaining. And we'll be getting to that before the show's over. Talking about some other news in college football, and so we've got a lot to pack into our podcast today. Jim, you got to go over to the Gainesville High School state final game in the Class 5A.
I did. I went to Gainesville's opening game of the year against, I think it was Murphy High School in Alabama, who, by the way, won the state championship in Alabama.
All right.
Gainesville blew them out.
Wow.
And Gainesville got blown out by Thomas County Central. My friend Penny Pitts Mitchell, she gave us, with the GHSA, got my son and I some sideline passes, so that was a lot of fun being on the sideline. But Thomas County Central, they're the real deal. 62-21 final score, and it was really, they were in control throughout, it looked like, from what I saw. Did you sense any effects from the fact that, you know, they'd had to jumble their schedule up to play this game? I don't think so. I think Thomas County Central had a little edge about them. I mean, you know, I think the feeling was, you know, Gainesville, all this happened, and you know, they had to change their schedule a little bit and whatever. But they're very good. If I was Buford, I don't think I'd want to play Thomas County Central.
Well,
they're really good.
Yeah, that's right. Thomas County Central, the 5A champions, 62-21 over Gainesville. Then the 3A private was Hebron Christian over Calvary Day, 28-21. I was surprised by the final score.
Too. You said early in the year Hebron's going to win it all.
Yeah, I did.
And I expected Hebron to win that by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and the thing that evidently Calvary Day figured out how to do was to nullify Hebron's running game to some extent, because Devon Caldwell, I think, had less than 100 yards rushing. This was after he'd scored 10 touchdowns in the previous 2 games to get them to the finals. But I think what that showed is one aspect of the Hebron team that had gotten overlooked and overshadowed was their defense. They really had a strong defense all year, and the game got close late. Calvary Day made it close late, but was unable to get over the top. And so Hebron Christian, the
best team, definitely won the championship.
Yeah, I'd say so too. Then in the Class A Division I, we had Worth County over Toombs County, 17-13, maybe one of the closest game in the finals this year. It was Worth County was down 10-0 in the first quarter and came back to win. I did not actually see any of that game, so I don't know if you saw any of it.
I saw a few plays, but I didn't really feel like I had much of a connection to either one of those.
Yeah, me neither. Then we also had Bowden over Lincoln County, 35-31, and that was another close game. Came down to the last play, basically, and Lincoln County had a chance to pull out a win, but I think what we saw there is Lincoln County just did not have a passing attack.
They didn't. On the last play of the game, they tried to throw a pass. If you look back, they had a guy that looked like he was running open. I think the quarterback, I mean, just not being a passing team, you know, he just kind of panicked, and it's like they were uncomfortable throwing the ball.
And I wonder about that. You know, with today's 707 camps that schools go to over and over again during the summertime, it seems like you should be able to develop a solid passing attack. You don't have to be a passing dominant team, but you should be comfortable. Now, it's always a factor. Whatever your quarterback is, if you got a running quarterback, that's what you're going to build your offense around. And
that's right. I tell you what, Bowden's impressive. They won 4 state championships in a row. You know, I know you probably know the trivia. You know the other teams that have done that.
Well, I would see Eagles Landing Christian has done it. Has Valdosta done it?
I think Valdosta.
Is Buford done it?
Buford and West Rome. Okay,
so there you go. We knocked them out. Hey, how about the flag football championship? For North Oconee, they beat Whitewater 31-6. They'd been in the finals for 2 straight years and had not scored, I don't think, in those previous finals. And this year, they really dominated that game.
We'll claim that Athens area.
There you go. There you go. The top players were Catherine Cooper. She threw 5 touchdown passes. That's nothing to sneeze at. I don't care what level of football
you're playing.
That's right. That's right. And then we had, let's see, I don't have all my, they're on the backside here. I forgot to look on the backside of my pages here.
While you're finding that, Creekside
Benedictine, 42-38.
And I tell you what, Creekside, they're kind of like Thomas County Central.
Yeah.
No matter what classification you talk about, those guys can play. They have some big, fast, college guys are going to be playing college.
Well, I saw some of them last year. They played in a tournament up in Anderson, South Carolina, the same day that Prince Avenue played up there.
You mentioned that.
They're a solid team, and so they were able to win over Benedictine. Carver of Columbus over Hateville Charter in Class AA. That was 24-7. Pretty dominant win for Carver of Columbus. I did not watch much of that game, but that's the one where Jarvis Jones, old Georgia Bulldog, went there, and his first year goes undefeated.
Yeah, it's amazing what Carver Columbus, even going back a few years, what they've done. Those cities like Columbus, Augusta, Albany, whatever, it just seems like the public schools have a tough time for some reason, but they have had a great run.
And there's the second year they were undefeated and won the state, and somebody said, well, what happened to the last coach? Well, he decided he wanted to be a principal instead of a coach. So it wasn't anything, they ran him off, he just decided to take a different direction in his career. And then the big 6A game, Buford over Carrollton, 28-21. I watched most of that game.
I did too.
Those are two quality teams, but it's really kind of a flat game.
It was to me too.
It was so defensive. We got a long run by Tyreek Green at the end, 82-yard run. He's coming to Georgia to be a defensive back to win the game for Buford. But it was really not a very exciting football game.
I felt the same way. I mean, just kind of a lot of big, strong guys just bumping heads And I don't think you mentioned the Sandy Creek game.
That's right. We got that. Sandy Creek.
Yeah, if Jefferson would have won, we would have claimed them.
Yeah, that's right.
Teams, but,
that's right.
They had a great year, though.
They did have a great year, and but Sandy Creek is a team. That's another one of those programs that has been strong for years.
Gosh, I mean, it's so good, so consistent, and
those are your state championship games. The way it found out, as it wound up, North Oconee's girls winning the flag football, the only local champion from our general area that did well, but still we have to look back. It was a great season for North Oconee, deep into the playoffs. Athens Academy deep in the playoffs. Prince Avenue Christian deep in the playoffs. Oconee County into the playoffs. Clark Central into the playoffs. Morgan County into the playoffs. Monroe area in the playoffs. Jackson County had a historic season, winning their first region championship, getting into the playoffs. So I'm probably leaving somebody out, but those, if you win a state championship, obviously you look back and say, it was a great year. But you don't have to win a state to look back and say, we had a heck of a season.
That's right. It's very competitive. I mean, high school football in the state of Georgia.
It is.
I was thinking about something. You and I have talked about this a little bit earlier in the year. We even, I remember we mentioned it to Josh Alexander, the Athens Academy coach, just as some of the NIL transfer portal stuff kind of influence the way the high school kids kind of go about their business and whatever. And he said he sort of thought it had in a way, and I think David Perno agreed with that too. But watching those high school games, I kept hearing over and over, well, this guy played at another school last year, or he transferred 2 years ago, he was at this school. I know that's the result of, we live in a more transient society. Atlanta's a sprawling metropolis now. We got a lot of single, divorced parents that a kid can go live with one parent. But I tell you what, it's just a different mindset at the high school. I mean, back when you were coming up, Athens Academy had a great team. All those guys played at the Y as kids. They grew up together, and it was just something more special.
Well, I think what you've seen is parents are more proactive and trying to find a place for their children to excel. I mean, we talk about Buford, and of course their quarterback was the younger Rayola brother, who was there because his older brother had come to Buford when he was committed to Georgia, and they wanted already to be in the state. Now, of course, he went to Nebraska, now he's transferring again. But that was a case of somebody moving in from out of state because they wanted their son to be in a good program. And it happens around and about. Now, I may have told you this. My good friend Larry Webb, God rest his soul, used to be on the Valdosta High School Booster Club. And he said down there at Moody Air Force Base, all the Air Force people knew that Valdosta was a great program. If you had a high school age boy, get stationed at Moody Air Force Base while he was in high school, and he could play at Valdosta High.
Either there or Warner Robins.
Yeah.
And they both had dynasties.
And then, of course, now the sub base down at where Jeff Herron was down at Camden County. I'm sure they did the same thing, you know.
Well, I heard a story, and I probably shouldn't even say this, but, you know, I don't know them personally, but I know people that do. You know, the Jackson Arnold kid was at Auburn.
Right.
You know, when he was a young kid, his family lived in Swanee, Georgia, and somehow parent got a transfer or whatever. They wanted him to play at a program out in Texas. I mean, you live 2 miles from Beaufort High School.
Yeah.
But you going to be transferred to Texas? I mean, and I guess you can say it worked. I mean, the kid's even if he never makes it, he's made a good money from NIL. But
yeah.
But it's just, I think it's a little less of that at you know, the smaller schools, you know, Lincoln County
well, it's tough for those kind of schools to attract athletes. I mean, and I feel bad for them. I mean, what does Lincoln County have to offer to somebody who's at another school? I mean, other than they have excellent coaching and excellent tradition, but they can get that elsewhere. And then if you move to Lincolnton, I mean, it's just there's not. Do they have a great arts program, a band program? Is there a music program? Is there other academic things that would draw somebody there? I don't know.
Well, being a private school guy, you know, I'm probably a little biased on this, but, you know, like Josh Alexander, I remember he pointed out to us, you know, both private schools and public schools recruit.
Sure.
At some level.
Yeah.
A friend of mine down in Macon, Coach Edgar Hatcher, I don't know if you know that name, he's an old-time coach. He's retired, but he joked, he said when Larry Campbell retires at Lincoln County, McCormick, South Carolina is going to win the state championship because he's saying all his players were coming across the river from McCormick to play it. I mean, it was a joke, but, you know, you're right. What does Lincoln County have to offer? They've had a great football program.
Yeah,
I'm sure there have been some kids.
Yeah.
But it's kind of sad in a way. I mean, I just, you know, it's special when you grow up with those same guys and you're able to do. Even if you don't win the state championship, you have a great team. I think that's special. That's part of what makes high school so great.
It is. Well, hey, let me ask you this now. Did you see where Central High School in Macon hired a new head football coach, a guy named Jamoski Ward? I don't know if you know him at all. I don't have any background in him. He was a head coach at Wilkinson County High School. You're an old Macon guy. Central used to be one of the powers in the state of Georgia. Lately, they've not been so much. Maybe this will be something to get them over the top.
Well, I know, you know, I'm familiar with Wilkinson County and Central. Central, the Macon school, you know, Northeast Macon's been pretty good the last few years, but Central's really struggled. You know, Central, Old Lanier High School, which was a dominant when the schools, you know, desegregation, consolidate, whatever you call it. Central Lanier became Central, and for a few years in the '70s, you remember, you know, Mac Guest, Steve Dennis, Neil Calloway, I mean, they had great teams. Won the state championship in 1975, but they need a shot of whatever.
Well, maybe they need what Clark Central got years ago when they brought Billy Henderson from Macon to revive Clark Central, which had fallen off the cliff, so to speak, and after the integration and some troubles they had when Wayman Sellers was there, and then Billy Henderson came in and almost immediately turned that program around and went on to win some state championships and create a great tradition at Clark Central. Maybe that's what this guy Ward will do down at Central Macon.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, it's so impressive that Carver Columbus has been so successful because it's a similar deal as it makes. It's just a tough, environment, tough demographic, whatever you want to say. But Macon needs to have a couple of good teams every year. It makes Middle Georgia high school football more exciting.
There you go. Well, of course, high school football season's over with for the year, and we'll come back and talk about it next year. And maybe we'll kick off early with some preseason previews. We'll come back in a minute and talk about college football playoffs and some news in college football. Remind you, as always, to like us and subscribe and share us with your friends and neighbors, and send us an email to sidelinesheadlines@gmail.com, or come out here and visit us on Brett's.
At Brett's, come eat at Brett's.
Yeah. So we'll be back in a minute here on Sidelines and Headlines. Hey, he's Jim Hardin.
And this is Blake Giles.
And this is Sidelines.
And Headlines.
And we want to talk a little college football. Hey, one of the great little stories that has come out in recent days is there was a little kids group singing Christmas songs up in Tennessee, and one of the songs they were going to sing as part of their little concert was Rocky Top, the Tennessee fight song. The only problem was Nolan McGill in the class is a Georgia Bulldog, and he just would not sing it. And he's gone viral, and he's become the most famous 9-year-old Georgia football fan in the country.
Now, was he in Tennessee?
I think so.
Okay,
it could have been in Chattanooga. It could have been.
I thought it was there was some connection to here, to not just because University of Georgia's here, but I thought there was another.
Well, it may be that one of his parents was from here or something like that. But you know, his mom thought to videotape it because he had said, "I'm not going to sing Rocky Top," and she didn't really understand what he meant, but she didn't know that that was part of the concert song list. And so when it started, she figured it out, and then she videotaped it and put it online, and it was a hit right away, especially with Georgia football fans.
Well, it's a Tennessee State song, you know. You can get a pass for singing that, can't you? I guess.
Is it the state song?
I think it is officially the Tennessee State.
Oh, I did not know that. Well, it's certainly annoying to Georgia fans.
Yeah, it is. When they're good,
oh yeah,
the opponents don't like to hear them play.
Yeah, that's right. And speaking of songs, what about 50 Cent? Wind up being a song.
Game?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute here. Also in the news this week, we saw where Georgia analyst Will Muschamp going back onto the field in the recruiting trail, returning to Texas as defensive coordinator.
Were you surprised by that?
I am surprised by that. I mean, he had stepped back from coaching. I understand partly was he wanted to watch his son play. Is he at Vanderbilt? Witt is his name. I saw him play in high school as a quarterback up at Baylor up in Chattanooga, and good quarterback. I thought he did well and had a future for him. But you know, he's going back to a place he's been before, and he's lived in Austin. He coached in Austin, had some good experiences there. So going back to Texas, there may not have been any other place he would have gone.
I was shocked by that. I mean, obviously, he's a pretty well-respected coach. He wasn't successful as a head coach.
No.
But I don't know. Maybe Sarkisian wants to get him out there and see if he can pick his brain, see what Kirby's secret sauce is.
Well, I think that's part of it. He said, what is it that Georgia's doing that we can? Of course, they're not on Georgia's schedule next year, but unless they get to the SEC or playoff against each other. Of course, Muschamp was out there under the coach who went to North Carolina, Mack Brown, and was named the, quote, coach in waiting.
Yep.
I mean, they thought so much of him, they said, hey, when Mack retires, we want you to be the guy.
But then before Mack retired, he
got the Florida job. And to say he did not succeed at Florida, I mean, he had an 11-1 season, didn't he? One of the years he was there. He just did not have the consistent success, did not win a championship. I don't know if they made the right call in getting rid of him or not. And then he went to South Carolina.
Which is a different deal.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing that Steve Spurrier did, and found out it's not as easy to win at South Carolina as it is to win at Florida.
Spurrier was he'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different deal there.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I won't be surprised, though, if one of these days when Steve Sarkisian steps down, if Will Muschamp might not be the guy that they say, we want you to be our man.
Yeah, you just wonder what the time frame on that. You know, the time windows for everybody are smaller than they used to be.
That's right.
I mean, Will, he's a little older than Kirby. He's
maybe a year or two. Kirby turns 50 years old today.
Oh,
it's
really?
His birthday. He's 50 today, and Will's just a couple of years older.
But my point is, you know, I think some of these Georgia fans think Kirby's going to be around for 20 more years, and you know, it's just tough. I mean, same with Will. You know.
All right. Another news in the hiring. We have North Carolina getting a new offensive coordinator, Bobby Petrino, going over to join Bill Belichek. A couple of ex-NFL coaches uniting over at North Carolina. What do you think of that one?
I don't know. I saw something on the internet today. It was a picture of Petrino riding a motorcycle with Belichick in the sidecar and Belichick's girlfriend behind.
Oh,
Frankly, I'm surprised that Belichek just didn't say the heck with it and go do something different. But,
well, and I don't know Belichick. I've never been around him. Maybe he's just one of these guys. That's what he wants to do with his life, is coach.
Doesn't know how to do anything else.
Exactly. And so who's going to take him on to be a coach? North Carolina's it. I'm going to coach. And I'll coach until they run me off.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I also did a little survey to find out who is in the playoffs who used to play at Georgia. And so Oregon has got Bear Alexander. So he has the opportunity, if Oregon were to win the national championship, to play on the national champion football team at 2 different schools.
Has anybody ever done that?
I don't know. I know that there have been people who played on different schools in other sports. I'm just not sure if it's happened in football. Probably has. Then we got Oklahoma. They had edge rusher Marvin Jones Jr. Now this was his 3rd stop on his college career. Miami, of course, has Carson Beck. And Texas A&M actually had 3 ex-Bulldogs.
Really?
Edge rusher Sam Mapimba, cornerback Julio Humphrey, and the place kicker Jared Zirkle, who did not have a good day in that game against Miami. So speaking of that, let's go back and review the first round of the playoffs. How much of it did you watch, Jim?
I watched a good bit of it. I can't just sit there and watch it for 9 straight hours, but I watched a good bit of it. To me, in terms of entertainment value, Saturday wasn't real good.
Yeah.
I mean, Friday night was good.
Oh yeah, the Alabama-Oklahoma game was a great game, and it was like 2 games in one.
It was.
I mean, it looked like Alabama dead in the water, 17-0 deficit, and coming off of a bad performance against Georgia, barely beating Auburn. They just kind of limped into the playoffs, and they look like they're down for the count.
And it's pretty impressive, given what you just said, that they came back and won the game. I mean, there was the pick six and all that, but
Oklahoma made 2 critical mistakes. Obviously, the punter dropping the ball. I mean, it's just weird. There's no pressure. He just literally dropped the ball, and then of course the pick 6 that Mateer threw. It looked like one of those situations he and the receiver were not on the same page. The receiver ran down the field and he threw an out route, but the guy made it. And then that was 27 straight points by Alabama, and Oklahoma's just not built to be a comeback team.
Well, do you want to go ahead and talk about the next game, Alabama? You want to wait and talk about the next game?
We'll talk about that. Let's go back to the first round again. How about that Miami-Texas A&M game? Now, that was a good game. It was like a throwback game.
It was. It was. I don't know. I heard one of the pundits on the radio talking about what a good game he thought that was. It was a good game, but I'm not so sure, was that 2 great defenses or was that 2 offenses that maybe just were kind of stinking it up a little bit?
Well, how much? Now, the win apparently was a pretty significant factor, as we saw with the kicking game, and apparently affected the passing game as well. Now, what Miami did was, I said, okay, we can't pass, let's run the ball. And they did it effectively, whereas Texas A&M did not generate much of a running game. And then when they got late, of course, they had to pass and wound up with an interception in the game. But, so now we've got Carson Beck and Miami playing in the quarterfinals.
I just wasn't 100% believer in either of those teams before that game. I mean,
Notre Dame wasn't either.
Yeah, that's right. You got a point. But I don't know. Maybe Miami will surprise me. I think they're going to go down.
Well, if you look at that game from the Texas A&M standpoint, they won their first 11 games and were ranked number 3 in the country, and then they lost their last 2 games. They lost to their bitter rival Texas, and then they lost a home playoff game with 107,000 12th-man fans there. It's got to be a disappointing finish.
Yeah, I thought losing to Texas might be a kind of a weird, helped them in a way. They might have a chip on their shoulder. They were home, but it sure didn't look like it.
It made me wonder, we talked about this, they drew a very favorable schedule this year in the SEC.
Oh, my God.
Texas, the only team they played that had a winning record inside the conference. So was this a little smoke and mirrors? Was Texas A&M really that good?
Well, it's hard to imagine that anybody could beat smoke and mirrors and make it and win 11 games.
Exactly.
But maybe they did.
And even in the SEC, bad teams are not bad.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So, but yeah, it certainly takes a little of the bloom off of that rose.
I don't know what it is. It's just being probably my evil, sinful side coming out. But something about Mike Elko I just don't like.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
I don't have any feelings about him one way or the other.
But
so
I don't really have a right to, or anything specific. He just kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Okay, all right. Then we had the two runaway games. Oregon defeating James Madison 51-34. I watched a little of the first half, didn't watch any of the second half of this game. It's pretty clear from the outset that James Madison was outclassed.
Well, that's what I said too. I watched a little bit early, and they did come back and they scored 34 points.
Covered the spread.
Yeah, but it wasn't. I'm like you. I don't think there was ever any doubt who was going to win that game.
And then Ole Miss, they scored in 3 plays. And when that game started, and we're quickly up 14-0. Went through a little lull, but wound up winning 41-10 over Tulane. Just dominant win for them as well, even without Lane. Tulane was no match for no Lane.
No Lane, that's right.
So,
and it was weird. I mean, I knew it was going to happen, but it was strange when the game came on. You saw John Summerall over there coaching, knowing he was going to Florida.
Yeah.
And he kind of, at the end of the game, he was kind of, we got whipped. He said, I didn't do a very good job, whatever, but they weren't going to win anyway, even if he'd have moved on and they'd had an interim coach or whatever. But.
Yeah. So, well, that gets us now to the quarterfinals now, New Year's Day and New Year's Eve. Let's go down in order of the games that are going to be played. On New Year's Eve, we got the Cotton Bowl. That's Ohio State against Miami. A revival of a game that goes back, was it 2002 when they played in the national championship game and Ohio State won? Was it double overtime, I think?
So, yeah.
So that game is irrelevant. I mean, it's a good, interesting piece of history, but it's not really going to be a factor in who wins this game. Who do you like?
Ohio State.
Why?
Like I said, I don't buy Miami. I think I almost feel like losing to Indiana kind of makes Ohio State have a little chip on their shoulder. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm probably like you. I mean, we down here in the South, we probably never really don't pay that as much attention to those two teams as we do some of the SEC teams.
Yeah.
I just think Ohio State's going to beat them by 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns.
You disagree with that?
I don't know. I really think Ohio State's going to win. I don't have any idea about the point margin. I'm not sure about that. I think it's going to be an interesting game. I really was impressed with Miami's defense against Texas A&M. I don't think their defense has gotten a lot of credit. I think they've vastly improved over what their defense was last year. I mean, they had Cam Ward last year, and they could move the football, but they couldn't stop anybody. Yeah. This year, they learned to play some defense, and there they are in the quarterfinals. But Ohio State, if I had to look and say, okay, if you look at position by position, player by player,
probably the most talented team.
This may be the best team in the country as far as you look at players, and they've got one of the best pure players in the country in Jeremiah Smith, the wide receiver. And if they can get the football regularly to him, they're going to win. And of course, he'll be playing against. He probably grew up watching Miami.
Yeah, absolutely did.
Growing up down there in Miami all his life.
Well, I'm not. I said 2 touchdowns. I'm not a bettor. I don't pay attention to point spreads. When I say 2 touchdowns, I just think when that game's over, you're going to say Ohio State got a much better team. They won. It might be 10, it might be 21, but I just think they're better.
Would you like to see Miami win to set up a rematch, Carson Beck against Georgia?
I really wouldn't, because I don't know. I think it's going to have to be a fluke if they beat Ohio State, and I just hope the best team wins. But
I don't really want to see that game either. I don't want to see Georgia have to play against Carson Beck because I'm afraid the Carson Beck haters would come out. I don't hate the guy. Yeah. I mean, he transferred. So what? That happens to a lot of players. And when he was here at Georgia, he played hard for Georgia. and Georgia had good football teams while he was here. So that doesn't bother me.
He's got some cool tattoos.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. All right, so that's on New Year's Eve. Both of us are picking Ohio State to win that game. All right, let's go down to New Year's Day. First game on that day is going to be the Orange Bowl down in Miami, Texas Tech against Oregon. This is the number 4 seed against the number 5 seed, so ostensibly the closest game. Who do you like?
Well, I'm going to have to stick with I said last week I thought Texas Tech was the last whenever 2 weeks ago was the sleeper. So I'm going to stick with that. Although Oregon, I wouldn't. I'm excited about that game. I think that's going to be a good game.
I think it's going to be a great game.
I think Texas Tech might be a little sleeper in all this, you know.
The one question I have about Texas Tech is how much were they challenged this year in their schedule?
You're right.
They won every game they won by 2 or 3 touchdowns. So they didn't, except for the one game they lost to Arizona State, they never were challenged throughout the season. And so that leads me to believe, okay, are they that much better, or did they play a mediocre schedule? I don't know. I mean, Brigham Young's a good team, and they beat them twice by comfortable margins.
One game they lost, I think their quarterback was out.
Exactly.
And this would be, and I don't know. I think it's probably a coin flip. I think Oregon's good. Oregon could probably win it all. If Texas Tech can win, if they could win, that'll be huge for them. You know, everybody talks about all their NIL, you know, just for the future.
Right.
You know, all the money they have going forward, and they're going to be buying some players.
Yeah.
And that would be a big self-esteem boost for their program, I think.
Well, you mentioned the quarterback being out in that game that they lost. Right now, their backup quarterback's out. So they're on thin ice if their first-team quarterback, who had said he was about 70%, and he was looking forward to this time off to get back closer to 100%. So if something were to happen to him, Texas Tech, the Red Raiders could be in trouble and trying to compete against Oregon, which Oregon is one of those teams. Dan Lanning recruits with the best of them, and he's loaded up with talented players all across the board.
Loaded up with money up there too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, then we get to Rose Bowl, Alabama against Indiana. And in which world did we ever think we'd live in which Indiana was favored over Alabama in the Rose Bowl?
Now, is it true that Alabama, all those Saban years, they never played in the Rose Bowl?
Not when Saban was there, I don't believe so.
All the way back like to 1920 something?
I don't know. I think that may be right. They went in 1921 or 2. I saw a little documentary about it, and they said it was one of the most important football games in the history of college football. And the reason was they went there and they beat a West Coast team. Was it Washington or?
Might have been Washington.
They beat a West Coast team, and at that time the South was looked down on as second class. Their football was second class, and this was a chance for Alabama to demonstrate that the South knew how to play football too, and the whole region got a lot out of the game. And it was one of the most important games ever played in this little documentary I saw. It may be true, I don't know. I think they've been more than once, but I don't know exactly.
Well, I think they went later than the game you're talking. I think when Bear Bryant played football at Alabama, they went
could
one
have,
year.
Yeah, could have. So, but anyway, so here we are, Alabama against Indiana. So, can Alabama win this game?
I think so.
I think they can. Will they win the game? I don't think they will.
I almost think they will. I don't got any money, but if I had to bet, just to even, no points, I think they might win. There's a lot of pressure on Indiana. They've won. They just keep winning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Will they be a little tight? Will Alabama be a little bit more? Hey, we don't have as much to lose. We're going to throw the kitchen sink at them and see what happens.
Sure. But the thing that I keep coming back to in Alabama is their lack of a running game. They just cannot run the football.
It's crazy how that's the case.
And there's got to be something going on with the people they've got at running back. I guess Jam Miller's a pretty good running back. Some guy had a 30-yard run against in the game that they won against Oklahoma, and that's the first 30-yard run they'd had since week number 2 of the season. So maybe their offensive line is just not up to snuff. I don't know. Now, Ty Simpson, he looked good after the early start, after he got going, and looked good. I tell you, I am mystified by Ryan Williams. what has happened to that guy.
I know. I mean, he disappeared.
He was the greatest wide receiver I'd ever seen last year, and now he's pedestrian. It looks like he just has disappeared from the offense and drops balls and whatever.
Well, I know there's a lot of Alabama fans already ready to run the coach off. You know, when they had 17 years of Nick Saban, but I think he may be one of those coaches. You know, he's an offensive coach. You know, in a game like this, it's just kind of like that first Georgia game, kind of like the Georgia game last year. It's just like they came out and crossed him up, and you know Georgia couldn't deal with it. You know, and he's had some other games like that. Now he's lost some that people think he shouldn't have lost.
Right.
But he sort of did that against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I mean, down 17-0. I think they got a good chance to do it again this week.
Well, Indiana, if they could shut down Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Smith, the passing attack of those guys, then I think they could possibly handle Alabama's passing attack. They don't. Their quarterback, I think Simpson may be better than Sayin.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any receivers as good as Alabama's receivers are, and they've got 3 good ones.
They do.
I don't think any of them is as good as Jeremiah Smith. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. But I'm picking Indiana to win that game. Now, I hope Alabama wins. I really do. I would be pleased if they did win, just because of the SEC aspect of it.
I kind of agree with you on that. I mean, I know I kind of like a little bit the Cinderella aspect of Indiana, but when it comes right down to it, I want Indiana to win it all, you know?
Well, and of course, Indiana, you think about why they're here. It's only possible because of transfer portal and NIL.
Yeah.
Nobody else, it would have been impossible for Kurt Cignetti. I don't care if you Google him and he wins everywhere he goes. It would have been impossible for him to get this kind of turnaround in this amount of time unless he could bring his players with him and pay them to get them to come to Indiana and just reverse it overnight. It's the new age of college football.
Yeah, and would they be undefeated if they played an SEC schedule? Probably not.
Probably not, but they might still be very good.
Yeah.
Somebody, I saw this put on social media, if you look at, they had the worst record in college football until these last 2 years, and somebody said, well, maybe they just didn't know that you could pay players under the table.
That's right. If you weren't cheating, I mean, what Coach O said, you hear the interview with him? He said, used to we'd come in the back door, now they come in the front door.
Yeah, all right. Well, that gets us to the Sugar Bowl, a rematch, Georgia against Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. Of course, Georgia went to the Sugar Bowl last year, lost to Notre Dame on that game that was delayed a day because of the unfortunate incident of the terrorists driving through the streets of the French Quarter and running over people, and that was a tragic situation. And Georgia lost in a close game to Notre Dame, but now they're back again to play Ole Miss in a rematch. Beat them earlier this year. Was it 43-35, I think. Scored the last 17 points of the game to come back and win that game. Are they going to do it again?
I think they probably will. I don't think anybody knows for sure what's really going on behind closed doors at Ole Miss. Are they the same team? Or maybe they're even a little better, you know, than Lane Kiffin. Are they more motivated? You know, they got their offensive play caller. You know, they look good on offense.
All of their offensive staff is still intact for this game.
I mean, I had said earlier, if they get a rematch with Georgia, I think they'd probably beat Georgia on a neutral field. Just the rematch factor. Because the game before was so close in Athens.
Now, I heard this. Did you see the uniforms that Ole Miss wore in the game against Tulane?
Yeah.
They had the dark navy jerseys. I heard that was Lane's least favorite uniform.
I think I heard that too. I didn't pay attention to it. Now you said that.
So now here's what I've heard. I've heard that, is it Lacey, is that the name of the running back? That there's some question about his availability for this game.
Well, he got hurt, but he came back in the game, right?
Yeah. If he's not 100%, that's a lot off of the Ole Miss offense because they don't have anybody else as a running back.
No, and he's really good. I didn't realize how good he was until I really started looking at what he'd done this year.
Yeah, and he's a one-man show as far as the running attack goes. The next running back has 29 carries all year compared to this guy. So if he's not in the game, they don't have a running attack. And you saw with Alabama and Georgia, without a running attack, what Georgia could do to the passing attack. They were able to shut Alabama down and make it a very one-sided game. So if that's the case, I'm concerned about whether Ole Miss can make a game of it.
Yeah, I think Georgia's going to win the game.
I do too.
I think it. I don't know how much they're going to win the game by, but it's hard for me to envision Ole Miss beating them under the circumstances.
You know, last year, you go back to the playoffs last year, everybody that had a bye lost. Now, it was a little bit unusual circumstances because you had two conference champions, Boise State and Arizona State, who were not necessarily the top four teams, and they lost. Now, you had Oregon. I forgot who beat Oregon. Was that Penn State or Indiana that beat them? I don't think it was Indiana. It may have been Penn State that beat them. And then you had Georgia, of course, that lost to Notre Dame in a close game. And Notre Dame wound up going all the way to the finals.
And that was a weird game, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like you said, the game was delayed. I mean, Notre Dame had a kick return for a touchdown.
Yeah.
The whole thing just.
And looking back at it, Georgia had two blown blocks. I remember looking at that would have made a difference. One was a fumble and one led to an incompletion or something, but it would have changed the game. So the layoff, has that been good for Georgia, or is it going to be they come out rusty?
Well, I can tell you one thing. I don't know the right way to manage that, and I'm not sure Kirby does either, but I promise you they had a plan and a strategy, probably more than anybody else did, you know, kind of based on what happened last year. Mm-hmm. And I think they'll be ready. I really do.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we've had some distractions, two players getting arrested for shoplifting, Bo Walker running back and the offensive guard, Glover, that has been a factor. And
do we know if they're going to play?
I think they're going to play. I don't know of anything that they would not play. I think they'll be in the lineup. But that's just been something that he's had to deal with and everything. So, I think that I've heard even there's a chance, I don't know how legitimate it is, that Drew Bobo might be back at center. Now, I thought Malachi Tolliver has done a yeoman's job in reserve and replacing him. And then also that the big wide receiver who transferred from Miami, not Thomas, but
I know you're talking about. I can't call his name either.
Yeah. We're getting old, aren't we, Jim?
Somebody is.
But I'm told that he might be back, and that would give Georgia another weapon on offense.
Well, you hear coaches talk about explosive plays, being important in football nowadays, and they are, because you can't just drive have 20-play drives or whatever, because if you do that, and you have to go 20 plays every time, something bad is going to happen eventually if you run, and you got the other team scoring on just a few plays. I think explosive plays will be big in this game. Kirby talks about that a lot. If Ole Miss, if they throw it down the field and get a couple early touchdowns, it could be, just like the last game. They had a real chance to beat Georgia.
But it seems like since that game, the Georgia defense has found itself and has really not really been in trouble since then. Now, they had a close game with Florida down in Jacksonville after the Ole Miss game. But since then, they've really played well. They nullified Georgia Tech's and Haynes King, and then, of course, they dominated Alabama. So I really like what he's done and where he's got the defense and how they're playing right now. I was absolutely stunned that C.J. Allen was the only guy on that defense that would get any national attention from the All-America teams. I really thought, in particular, Christian Miller deserves some attention for what he's done in the defensive line.
Well, they're a good team defense. I think it's almost like you watch them play. It doesn't seem like there are a lot of maybe egos or whatever. Everybody's just sort of getting after it.
Yeah, and we saw with Janelle Aguero being out as a defensive back, they put in Rayshawn Deakins, who's a freshman who had some reps, but he's come in and hardly skipped a beat with what he's been able to do with that defense there. So they get them ready. They're ready to play, and so I think they're going to win, and advance us on to the next round. So if Georgia wins, we'll be back to talk about that one. And another, well, let's see, they play on New Year's Day, so we got about 9 days before that happens. So we'll be back and talk about it after that, looking on down the line.
You were talking earlier about the which guys maybe won a national championship on 2 teams. I was thinking transfer portal era, a big one I didn't even think about. Cam Newton, I think, has got 3 national championship rings. He won one at Florida, junior college.
Oh, how about
Auburn.
that? That's true.
I think that's right.
Okay, yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
And I had to get in a little Auburn there. Now I got to get in a little Presbyterian College. Our coach left us. He's going to West Georgia.
No, I did not know that.
And the West Georgia coach went to Mercer.
Okay. Where'd the Mercer coach go?
Toledo.
Okay.
And I don't know. I should have looked. I don't know if PC's hired a new coach yet, but.
So everybody just kind of made a little step up. Yeah, that's kind of the career progression that Kurt Signetti had. Is he was a guy who started with the small schools. Kalen DeBoer, he was the guy who came out of Division II.
School, yeah.
Yeah, so it's possible to win at that level and prove yourself and move on up.
I hate it for PC because their history is not. They don't have a great football history, and I think from his standpoint, he knew, he couldn't just stay there much longer. If he had a chance to leave, he had to go.
Yeah, I understand. Well, that's the lot of all those programs that are in that level. They get a great coach and they understand if he succeeds, we're not going to keep him. They're always going to have to be looking and finding and replacing and getting up somebody else to step in.
Yeah, PC had a coach named Callie Galt that was there over 20 years back in the 70s, 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and that'll never happen again.
Yeah, that's right.
They had, they kept him around, and they weren't great, but they were good enough. But now, you either win and you move on, or you lose and they fire you.
Well, of course, there's so much money to be made as you go up each step of the ladder, and it's very enticing. Just ask Lane Kiffin. I mean,
that's right.
All right. Well, Jim, tell me about Christmas. What you got planned for Christmas?
Well, I'm going to just be around the house. I'm going to go be with my kids on the 26th and have a little Christmas get-together, but just kind of quiet,
Have you had anything yet, or done any family get-togethers or anything?
We had a little family get-together a couple weeks ago, but not a lot. Well, I got kind of a small family. I know you had a big get-together.
We had an extended family gathering on Sunday. My nephew, Todd Pulliam, who is a cook extraordinaire, and he did a low country boil for the family, but he does one on steroids. He throws in crab legs and lobster as well. So we had quite a feast. We had Sunday. I have to, at this time of year, I have to figure out what to do with leftover lobster. How often do you have that problem?
That's a big problem. That's a first world problem.
It sure is. It sure is. But and then coming up Sunday, we're going to have just our family together. My children, John, Laura, and Emily, and their spouses and children, and a couple of girlfriends will be in on it too. We've got 2 grandsons that are in the dating stage now, so they'll be joining us. So we'll have a little small get together.
You're back in a good stage where there are kids involved. My kids are grown, but I don't have grandkids yet. So.
I see my youngest is 8. I think is her age. Annie is the baby of the family. And so
Santa Claus and all that stuff.
I don't know if we got any Santa Claus believers. I'm just not sure about that. So.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it's more fun than
there you
when
go.
they're young.
Yeah. Well, tell me this. I want to ask you, and I didn't tell you to set this up for you. If I had to ask you what Christmas means to you, what comes to mind?
Well, unfortunately, I'm like a lot of people. It's probably a little too commercialized, and the real meaning gets lost. But my wife Jackie and I went to Nashville to a concert last weekend, I guess, and we were walking down the street, and one of these crazy guys, some kind of weird thing, wanted you to be on camera, and then they were going to put you on a billboard or whatever, and they said, say whatever you want to say. And I said, well, thankful for Christmas, thankful God sent His Son in the world to save us, and we have a Savior. And I figured not only is that true, but that's a good thing. If they put that on a billboard, that's a pretty good message. So
well, when I was thinking about that question, and my response was, I know I have great memories of great family get-togethers, but you know, all that gift giving and all that, I couldn't name to you 10 gifts that I've given or received over the years. They just kind of fade in. But the thing I think about is that somewhere a long time ago, the God of the universe, the creator of all, the one who made it everything, decided that humanity's in trouble. And they need to be fixed, they need to be repaired, they can't do it themselves. And he sent his son, Jesus Christ, to be born and take on the persona of a human being in this world, live a perfect life, and then take our penalty for us and die for us on the cross, come back from the grave, resurrected, give us victory over death. And that's what I think about the Christmas story, what it means to me.
And you don't have to know anything about Christmas to know the world needs a Savior.
Exactly,
We are messed up.
That's right. You know, I've said this many times. I love Jesus. That's no mystery. The mystery is he loves me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So with that, we want to give you a Merry Christmas and hope that you find the true meaning of Christmas. And hey, come back and watch us next week. We'll be talking more college football here on Sidelines and Headlines.
Nothing better than a little football and Jesus.
There you go. Subscribe to us, like us, and we'll see you in about a week and in between.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. God bless.